is different for different people. 10 years after the Aurora theater shooting, she came to remember the man who saved her life. A father walked straight into movie theaters for a glimpse of the son he lost.
Alex, I'm coming, and he'll find me, so wherever we are.
To be honest, it's difficult not to feel hopeless. A decade after a movie theater shooting was unthinkable.
Nothing is safe. No mall, no church, no mosque, no movie theater, nothing.
There are difficult questions today for Denver police to try to explain how they shot so many innocent people in LoDo over the weekend. Maybe Tina Pierce secretly likes jail food because she is just daring a judge to revoke her bond only days after getting a second chance. And on a difficult day, I promise you we will leave here with encouragement, with purpose, with the knowledge that we helped Coloradans who are working hard and barely getting by. Because we don't just watch, because this is next. Most of the Coloradans killed in the Aurora theater shooting 10 years ago today would have been in their mid to late 30s today. A reminder that it was largely young people that our community lost that night. The oldest, Gordon Cowan, would have been nearing retirement. Veronica Mosher Sullivan would have been in high school, 16-year-old. Veronica would have had a little brother or sister today, 10 years old. Her mother was shot in the stomach in the theater and had a miscarriage. There are 70 Coloradans who were injured that night and survived. Some of them joined the stream of people coming by the memorial in Aurora today. Jansen Young was there. Her boyfriend John Blunk died as he shielded her from the gunfire.
I would not be here today if it were not for John, and so I'm grateful for him every day of my life, and that never changes, not from day one or 10 years later. And some years I think I've come here in peace. Some years I think I've even come here joyous, just happy to remember John. And this year has been a lot harder.
The memorials started at midnight and will continue through the weekend. If you've never been out to that memorial at Alameda and Chambers, it's beautiful. Its centerpiece is that art of 13 white cranes ascending into the sky. 10 years ago tonight, Tom Sullivan went to the theater in Aurora looking for his son. He keeps going back to movie theaters. He told our Marshall Zellinger why.
It's not the same theater to me that it is to others.
Movies can be an escape from reality.
You just can't go and sit down anywhere.
Tom Sullivan cannot escape the reality of what happened here in Aurora at the Century a decade ago.
There's a portion at the beginnings that they never used to do until 10 years ago where they tell you, look for the exits, get outside, all of that kind of stuff. That all started after the theater massacre.
The theater where 12 people were killed at a midnight showing of The Dark Knight Rises 10 years ago, including Tom's son, Alex.
I'm still having a difficult time at the cemetery. I don't know, I don't know how to talk to him, at the cemetery. But here is a little bit more, I can relax, and I know he's there, and I know we can sit there and enjoy something together. Tom
was not at the movies that night with his son, but just like he did last week, he has not come here without him since.
Well, I mean, that's where he is. I mean, he's there. He's around.
Every time Tom walks back into this space, he wants to get as close to Alex's seat as he can.
I'm looking to get in the middle of the theater. Alex was in the 12th row, in the 12th seat, and I would sit, in seat 11. I would sit next to him.
That seat, though, was not always open.
It was when the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie came out. And there's 3 kids sitting in the 12th row. They're sitting right in those seats. And I just stopped, and I kind of looked, and I thought, oh no. Okay, what do I do? So I went up and I went to the 11th row, and I went down the 11th row, and I sat right there in front of them. I didn't look at them. I didn't say anything to them. I didn't do anything. I just said, okay, well, I'll just sit here. And I'm sitting there for about 5 minutes, and all of a sudden, the 3 kids stood up out of their seats and walked down to the end of the row and sat down. And I sat there and went, oh my. And so it was, okay. So I got up and I moved and I sat down. And to this, what I know is that Alex was sitting there with them, and he was hanging out and doing whatever they're doing with them. And then all of a sudden he looked up and he told them, you know, guys, my dad's here. You know, you got to move. And they did. And so I sat there.
When the credits roll, that's usually the cue to head home. But why leave somewhere you just want to stay?
I'm appreciative of the fact that, you know, I do get to go in there and share, you know, our moment together.
For Next, I'm Marshall Zellinger.
July 20th was a day that was already circled on the Sullivan family's calendar because today would have been Alex's 37th birthday. 10 years after the Aurora Theater shooting, I find hopefulness to be in short supply and struggled with whether to share that aloud here. But we got to look around us. America has reaffirmed its commitment to basically doing nothing to prevent more mass shootings. We even failed to implement the lessons learned on how to handle shootings that are already happening. The officers standing around in the school hallway in Uvalde, Texas, could have called up to law enforcement in Colorado to ask what was learned here after Columbine, and it would not have taken 80 minutes of waiting to explain it to them. Failures to act decisively in the moment and on the larger scale, they're disrespectful to the memory of those lost, their families, and those who survived, forever changed. So it's often left to those survivors and families to carry the burden. Alex Teeves's parents begging media outlets to stop giving killers the notoriety they crave. Tom Sullivan wearing his son Alex's jacket to work in the state legislature, where a House colleague told him that he should let go of his son's murder. Jessica Gowie's parents, Sandy and Lonnie Phillips, living out of their RV so that they can drive from one mass shooting to another to comfort the victims. 10 years after the Aurora Theater shooting, we expect too much of the grievers and the survivors, and we have given them far too little meaningful action in return. Denver police now say that 6 people were hurt after their officers opened fire in LoDo early Sunday morning. Police are now saying that no one else but them fired a gun. That includes the suspect they say pulled out a weapon. So now there's this strange wordplay going on where Denver police won't acknowledge that they shot anyone, but now victims are showing us the bullet holes in their bodies. 2 victims also told us today that police did not disclose to them in the hospital that it was officers who shot them. They thought it was someone else. Kelly Rinke's been on this all week for us. And Kelly, today police came forward and publicly offered their version of events.
Yeah, Kyle, today police released pictures from body camera video, which will be critical evidence when the district attorney decides whether the officers' actions were justified. The case will also go before a use of force review board, which is made up of community members. 3 officers fired 7 bullets in total, and 7 people, including that 21-year-old suspect, got hurt. We want to warn you, we're going to show you some of those pictures of a woman who says she was shot that night. These are images from the body camera video. DPD says Jordan Waddy pulled the gun out and across his body. That's when 2 officers fired their guns from this direction. This picture is from the 3rd officer's body camera. That officer fired 1 shot. We now know 6 bystanders were hurt during this incident. DPD says 3 had serious injuries to the arm or leg. We have spoken to 2 people who say they were shot, and we have pictures of their wounds. A warning here, this may be hard to look at. Bailey Alexander says she was shot in the back with the bullet exiting through her arm, but the department says as of right now, they cannot conclude if any of the 6 people were shot by their officers.
We certainly have significant injuries, so it would seem like some sort of larger projectile hit him than a jacket, but again, that's just anecdotal. It's not, I don't have any ballistics to compare back to.
A use of force consultant told me today it does take time to determine what specifically hit someone. He said officers have to go through a process, forensic analysis, collect evidence from hospitals, and also recreate that scene. Kyle.
Kelly, the most striking thing that I heard today is what Denver police are saying. They fired 7 shots and hit 6 different people in the process.
Yeah, and what Denver police is saying, they're not saying that they shot anyone, but they're also saying, we have to figure out were they shot by a bullet or did the bullet hit a brick wall and then something that came from that wall hit them. So they really didn't provide any details about how these people were hurt other than 3 were serious and 3 had minor injuries.
Yeah, to get an idea of who was in the line of fire, that many shots, that many people walk away injured. Glad everybody's alive. All right, Kelly, thank you. Certainly been a lot of difficult news to discuss today. So what do you say we take a minute, as we do on Wednesdays, to do some good together as a community? Your Word of Thanks microgiving campaign this week benefits a nonprofit that delivers food to families in need in a community that has often been in the news for its challenges. The Grow House is a nonprofit fighting hunger in Denver's Globeville, Elyria, and Swansea neighborhoods, the communities that are in the shadow of the Suncor plant's pollution, as well as the I-70 construction and generations of disinvestment. Families there are often working multiple jobs, and it's a bit of a drive to the nearest supermarket. So the Grow House delivers the food they offer to the community, just like a grocery service does. They told me that that is about dignity. It's about food justice. The nonprofit also hires people from the community for this work. So it's not only food access, it's also job skill training. They said like marketing and computer skills and language acquisition. They said that they see food access as the entry point to a healthier community in every sense of the term. They're prepared to expand their food delivery program to more families that can use the help, if we can help. Scan the QR code on your screen or text the word thanks to 303-871-1491 to get that link to donate. I will never ask you to give if I don't, so I'll match the first 50 donations of $5 that comes in. This is about Coloradans who are working long hours at multiple jobs, getting a knock on their door from a neighbor saying, hey, we heard that you could use some help with meals for your family. I'm in if you're in. For all the bad in the world, this is some good that we can do together tonight.
Is Tina Peters trying to go back to jail? I'm serious. Right after a judge gave her a second chance for violating her bond, the Mesa County Clerk is at it again. And there is rare political unity of sorts in Colorado, as an unlikely figure has both Republicans and Democrats cheering what they saw this week. So let's hear it from Mitch McConnell next.
Mesa County Clerk Tina Peters appears to be testing to see if a judge will throw her in jail. The Republican clerk's trying to convince nearly every county clerk in Colorado to do a recount on the Secretary of State race she lost by a mile. Apart from her pointless searches for non-existent election rigging, her contact with the Mesa County Clerk's office could be a fresh violation of her bond. Just last week, Clerk Peters narrowly avoided going back to jail on another bond violation for traveling out of state without permission. Politics guy Marshall Zellinger's along. Marshall.
Nothing good happens after 2 a.m., right?
That's when this email went out, that late?
After 2 a.m.
Bye.
Tina Peters, who is still the Republican Mesa County Clerk, she's just not allowed to oversee the elections and be at work. The conditions of her bond say she cannot contact anyone at the clerk's office. This morning at 2:44 a.m., she sent an email to Mesa County Elections Director Brandy Bance and 61 other county clerks, letting them know she wants a hand recount to the primary she lost. A condition of her bond in her criminal case for tampering with her county's election equipment is to not contact anyone at the clerk's office. which might include asking for a recount of a primary she lost by 88,000 votes. Another condition of her bond is to not leave the state without the court's permission. Last week, she was in Nevada, as seen here, without the court's permission. And a Mesa County district judge last week gave her a second chance and did not have her arrested. Republican Mesa County District Attorney Dan Rubenstein is on vacation and told us he will deal with matters when he returns. Peters needed to put down a $236,000 deposit for a recount last week. She did not. And the Colorado Secretary of State Election Director told her in a letter sent yesterday, before that email to the clerks, that a hand recount is not allowed because state election rules require the recount to be the same method as the election being recounted, which would not be by hand.
Marshall, I have a theory. She likes being a martyr. It's very good for fundraising and for her political profile, and she would be way more of a martyr if she goes back to jail than if she's out on bond.
We'll see what happens, because the judge who said he gives second chances, well, is there a third? Because if that's, we'll see.
We'll see. All right. Thank you, Marshall. You know, it's rare for Colorado's Democrats and Republicans to get equally excited about a political development, but you know what happened this week? Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell came out strongly for Republican Senate candidate Joe O'Dea here in Colorado. Republicans are thrilled, and Democrats are thrilled, because O'Dea is positioning himself as a centrist who would be willing to block Mitch McConnell's agenda if necessary. According to a report in Axios, McConnell appeared at a fundraiser for O'Dea in Washington, called him the perfect candidate, and promised to spend aggressively to get O'Dea elected. Republicans love that McConnell's vote of confidence is going to open donors' wallets for O'Dea. And Democrats love that McConnell is now confirming publicly that O'Dea is going to be his guy. O'Dea faces incumbent Democratic Senator Michael Bennet come November. It's a sign that someone had a problem making the sign.
No great surprise. It was another hot day, another day in the 90s. In fact, today marking day 9 in a row in the 90s. But then we had those thunderstorms push through within the past hour, I should say, bringing us some much needed rain. Now they're off into the distance, just to the east of Denver, but downtown still looking at some pretty nice sunshine. Lots of lightning. I'm sure you saw that and heard the thunder out there. The rainfall continues. And then look at this large batch of thunderstorms that continue across far southeastern Colorado. Everything scoots out overnight, and we'll be back in business with some sunshine early tomorrow morning. The storms tomorrow, few and far between. It'll be a nice break for us as this ridge of high pressure continues to strengthen. It brings us the heat once again tomorrow. But look what is waiting in the wings. A storm system that will be cooling us off and hopefully breaking our 90-degree stretch. 98 here in Denver. We'll be touching triple digits on Friday, but then look at Sunday. The thunderstorms return, and so do the 80s.
It's a sign that we might be looking at layers of issues here. So the light near Sugarloaf Road in Boulder Canyon appears to be working, because, I mean, it's lit up green there. The sign, though, directs you on how to report a problem with the signal. Yes, in fact, I would like to report a problem. Tilia Kennedy shared this sign. If you see a sign that's so good, you got to take a photo. Share it, please. Email it to next@9news.com or tweet us with the hashtag #HeyNext. You will always get the final word around here, and another chance for us to do some good together on a tough day for our community. Your feedback's next. Word of thanks exists so that nobody has to leave here feeling discouraged or powerless no matter what is in the news, and that's especially important today. So let's help the nonprofit The Grow House as they try and expand their program distributing food to families in the Globeville, Elyria, and Swansea neighborhoods. So they started doing food delivery during the pandemic, and they kept it because so many low-income families in that community are working multiple jobs. Their hours are strained. There's not a conveniently located grocery store. In comes The Grow House with their free food distributions. Scan the QR code on your screen or text the word thanks to 303-871-1491 to join me and a bunch of other folks in our community in lifting up their work so they can expand it to more families. Father Michael writes in tonight to say bravo for naming the sin of inaction before and in the wake of so many preventable tragedies since the Aurora Theater shooting 10 years ago today. Jennifer wrote in about Marshall Zellinger's story with Tom Sullivan and his practice of going to movie theaters to sit by his son that he lost that day. Jennifer wrote, "This brings tears to my eyes. I imagine his son sitting next to him now saying, 'It's okay, Dad,' but the onus is on the rest of us. When will we enact lasting change?" Thank you for being with us. See you next time.